Well, hello, and welcome to this episode of Association Transformation. Do you like how I'm using my podcasting voice? Welcome to Association Transformation. This is Elisa Pratt. I will be your cruise director.
Entertainment director.
There you go. And I have with me on today's cruise, Andrew Chamberlain.
Hi, Lisa. How you doing? How you
I'm
doing?
doing well. How are you?
I'm good. You've just come out of one of your very many autumn or fall holidays, haven't you?
Yes, we are shaking off the cobwebs from a long Thanksgiving weekend.
Uh-huh.
The states are back to business and trying to get a few more weeks of work in before the new year. So
Okay. So were you celebrating in style on not Cyber Fridays, it's Black Friday, Cyber Wednesday.
Black Friday, yes, I contributed to the United States economy, well, the global economy, let's be honest, and ate some turkey, spent some time with family. I checked all the boxes. And to be honest, I'm glad to be back at work. I can't spend a ton of time with family, so I do like to be back in my space, with my routine, and with the association ecosystem under my
Your
microscope.
other family.
My
Yeah.
other family, my association family, my association transformation family, my Brewer Pratt Solutions family. I mean, there's that pool of topics and challenges and needs is never is getting no more shallow. So let's dive in. I have something I need to chat with you about.
Let's do it. What do you want to talk about?
So another, 11 months into this year, I've worked with many boards, and I don't know about you, the board culture
Mm.
coming out of COVID, and again, I can we have one podcast where we don't say the word COVID, but
Can we commit to 2024? We never mentioned the C
I
word.
promise. I have my hand up, my right hand up. I promise. No, let's not mention it again. Post COVID, post pandemic, COVID this, long COVID that.
Mhm.
Let's ban it from our podcast environment.
Cool. So anyway, boardrooms.
Boardrooms. So, there are just such boards. Every board you meet, the only thing that's similar about them is how different they are. And I would think that when you work with boards, there should be some greater consistency, some standardization, some I don't know. Board cultures are really confusing me. Can you tell me the secret?
Yeah, I can. And it's professionalism
Ooh.
or lack thereof in some sort.
Whoa, you just went in a different direction there.
Oh yeah, no. It's interesting because I've been reflecting a lot recently. I've actually had quite a turbulent 2023 when it comes to sitting around boardrooms with our volunteer leadership teams. And I too am noticing something quite significant in terms of the way individuals and boards collectively are behaving in the boardroom environment. And I'm finding it quite unnerving. And certainly if I was working directly, as a CEO or as an ED within that environment, my alarm bells would be ringing quite a lot at the moment because I think there is a creeping into the board environment. And this is a sweeping generalization. I should clarify this. And I should also clarify by saying I work with some tremendous, really professional volunteer leader teams. But what I am seeing and worrying me is that I'm seeing it creep in this, well, arguably a distinct lack of professionalism within the boardroom, and it's manifesting in quite negative sort of environments. It's manifesting in quite poor working relationships around the board table between boards and their executives.
Oh, okay. I see. I didn't know where you were going with. I was going to ask you to define professionalism, but now I think I see where you're going here. You're talking specifically about the volunteer chief staff executive relationship.
I think it's broader than that, but I think
Okay.
that's where the pinnacle of it is, isn't it? Because the chief exec, the senior staff team, are the conduit between sort of governance and operations. So that's where these sort of issues sort of manifest. But I have seen a lot of oh, what's the word? Disrespect for
Okay.
disrespect for our profession. And when I say our profession, I don't mean consulting. Or actually, I have seen quite a bit of disrespect for our profession in the last 12 months, but I'm also seeing a lot of disrespect for the association leadership on the sort of staffing side as well. And I think a lot of it is stemming from the age-old issue of training, development,
Mhm.
education. But
Yep.
I also get a sense there's something else sort of niggling and sort of undermining the success of organizations, governing bodies at the moment. And I'm struggling a wee bit to sort of articulate what it is. And maybe it is a post-COVID hangover where it was all sort of all sort of, what is it, hands to the pump and let's get through this. And sort of roles and responsibilities were blurred, perhaps, during crises. But I don't think some boards have recovered from that. And as a result, they're sort of paving a new way. But go on, maybe that's
Well,
just
so I have a secret. I have a secret I need to tell you. I don't think I've ever shared this with you, but I submitted a session proposal to an association specific event,
yeah.
an annual gathering, and it scratched the surface of where you're going with this.
Hmm.
And I pulled no punches, as I normally don't,
Uh-huh.
and I went all in, and I was told it was too negative.
Ah, see, this is it. We're constantly, and I'm told that. You know what? I am occasionally. Somebody actually gave me a. I asked for not a reference, a testimonial, and somebody said, and they meant this in a positive way, and I took it.
Wait, hold on. Let me prepare myself for
But
this.
they
So
spoke.
they meant this in a good way, and they said, "What about you, Andrew Chamberlain?"
They spoke about my quote brutal honesty. And
Oh,
now, brutal honesty or just being honest. I don't know. But this whole piece around negativity and what have you is I think people are using it as an excuse to not actually tackle the issues that are at hand here. It's easy to say that you're being negative, I'm being brutal in my sort of appraisal of performance. It's easy to say that, and for us to be the sort of perceived to be the weak links in the chain. But actually, I think it's easier to do that than to actually tackle some of these issues full on.
of course, of course. I don't know if it's an easy, but it's a common deflection. And again, let's drill back into what I think we've scratched the surface on here, and that's the unhealthy. You've used the term unprofessional. Um, Either way, it's ineffective.
Mm-hmm.
The volunteer relationships with each other, with the staff. I think that it can be at both levels that can cause tangible harm to mission driven organizations, both governance, both externally facing reputation and um,
And yeah, the whole business development piece can suffer considerably if the boardroom isn't performing um, appropriately. And I think one of the kind of core issues that undermines the success of the board of a board is this, rather than being organization focused, or indeed even member focused. I think again this historic approach to leadership, which is we are member led, is really starting to sort of come through as being detrimental to our organization's success. I mean, I talk about being member focused, but and therefore organization focused. But the number of times I sit in board training and I give them the governance training and I emphasize and I labor the point about directors' responsibility being to the organization, not to the members. And it's like every single time before I see any light bulb, I see a lot of confusion because everybody maybe not everybody, but I'd say the vast majority of people walk into the boardroom with a perception of what the role is. It's not the role they think it is. And instead of equipping them with the support and the guidance and the skills that they need and the knowledge that they need to be successful, because we're so often so grateful for volunteers to step under the breach, as it were, we let them away with filling gaps and creating gaps and filling them that actually don't exist in the first place. And I think it's really worrying for me that, we're now approaching the quarter mark of the 21st century, and we have still got boards who are not just underperforming, but are actually being hugely detrimental to the success of their organizations. I mean, go on. No, go on. Before I tell you another story, I'll let you interject.
Well, I just wanted to break this down, for the audience. I just wanted to break this down into both, cause and effect.
Yeah.
I think I don't want this to be just a 30 minutes of complaining where we share we already did our horror story episode, so we don't need to rehash all of that, but go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, but I do think it's really important that people hear that what they're experiencing, listeners maybe are experiencing, isn't unique to them. Because I think
you are not alone out there. You are not alone out there. And, again, back to my secret, I will tell you, I will even share with you what the title was: Addressing the Dysfunctional and Abusive Volunteer Staff Relationship.
There you go. I love that. I would have come to that session.
Oh, that was it. We got a big old fat rejection.
Yeah. It's really interesting because I often get the rejections around. When I get rejections, it's always when I want to talk about leadership
real
and the
real side of it, not sugarcoat it, not package it in something generic and that we've heard 1,000 times. But
no, not the theory, but the reality of it. And I think also this, what these sort of, what is the word, uncertainty around one's role as a director, I think also then leads individuals to unwisely sometimes lean on individuals who are in officer positions, and the cult of personality around the role of the president in many organizations is deeply disturbing. I've had a client in the past whose president, rotates president every 12 months, and the whole dynamic of the organization changes it feels almost on a whim. And it's because of the new personality coming into the role. And again, when I talk to people and I say, look, the president is no more or less equal to any member of the board. They play a distinct role, but in terms of accountability and their role in leadership, it's equal to that of everybody around the table. And yet, I've seen a situation recently where, they've put a call out for new committee members, and no committee member, no committee volunteer can be approved. Well, let me rephrase that. Every committee volunteer has to be personally approved by the new president.
Wow, that's a nice way to embed your
my God,
your friends and allies.
It's astonishing. I mean, I'm like, really? And how are they qualified in that role? And they're not, but it's because they're the president, and there's this sort of this sort of, what's the word, this deference to the role as much as anything else. And I think it's misguided. And I think always, and it's really interesting because when we talk about this often offline, you do suggest that I'm a bit hard-nosed about it, and that I think you're in a directors are in a role, they should just get on with it. And to a degree, I do think that you step into the role, you accept the responsibility, you accept the accountability, and it is, you do have to get on with it from day one. However, in doing that, you've got to give them sufficient support, training, guidance, mentoring, shadowing, job shadowing. There's all sorts of ways that, as part of your succession planning model, that you can ensure that when directors enter the boardroom environment on day one, they're feeling pretty good about their role. That's kind of, for me, one really critical piece. But I mean, what do you think?
Well, we've talked, this is one of those association management, nonprofit leadership topics that comes up, I think, all the time, and likely will, sadly, forever. So I want to boil down our perspective here into some identification around cause, to help chief staff executives and maybe board chairs, board presidents, to help identify if their environment has been compromised. So, if you're to ask yourself, do you have board education? Do you have board training? And maybe that's even too late. Maybe the real question is, do you have criteria? Do you have nomination? Do you have qualifications? Do you have a succession plan? And are you giving too much deference and appreciation to volunteers for their time, that you overlook their shortcomings or their inability to follow guidelines and to comply with expectations? Are you so desperate for next gen members or a new diversity of board members that you are willing to look the other way, or not train them sufficiently? Are you giving too much to the president? Does it become this popularity contest and a term of leadership that allows them to turn or to taint the culture of the whole organization? I'm asking listeners to think through your own environment, and as you ask yourself these questions, are you saying enough times in your head, oh wait, we don't have that. Oh wait, we don't do that. I think it is about both the causation and the effect, because a lot of people look to only the effect. Oh, well, we don't have board meetings that are efficient. Oh, we don't have a pipeline of people who are willing to fill these roles. We have ineffective governance, or governance that's not complied with. And at that point, you're dealing with the symptoms of a disease. You're already fully engrossed in the sickness, in the illness. And maybe the harder part isn't to just acknowledge that you have these things, but to address the what's next. Because the most scary piece for me is the number of chief executives that I have come across, both as clients, as colleagues, as friends in nonprofits, who don't have the political capital to write the course.
That is hugely disturbing to me. I think you've nailed it there. Absolutely. And indeed, I see that then filter down through senior staffers, which is, we mustn't challenge. We mustn't, we're perceiving a problem, but we mustn't raise it, because that's either A, it's not the done thing, or it's not acceptable, or if we do, it's going to cause huge headaches. And I push back constantly with staff saying, no, you have an obligation to, as much as directors have a legal obligation to protect and promote the interests of the organization, I think there is a moral obligation on staffers as well, as on directors, to do so. And I think it worries me intensely when I talk to the senior staff, and they are unwilling because they feel unable to challenge what is clearly poor performance. It's interesting when you were chatting there, and you were saying, oh, we've got inefficient board meetings. I was thinking the last time I heard that, someone said, oh, we've got inefficient board meetings. So, their solution? Let's have more board meetings.
What?
We're only meeting quarterly, and we're not really being very productive in them. So let's meet 6 times a year instead.
Oh, goodness. Yeah. So we're only about 5 weeks away from the end of the year. And what I would challenge and invite chief staff executives to do, because it's likely not going to ever be part of your executive performance or annual review, is to take a hard look at your culture, your board culture, the culture of your leadership. What's working, what's not working. And I mean, I've had people reach out and say, and call me as a consultant, and say, Elisa, I need a bad guy. I need the bad cop to come in and help me straighten this out, whether it's a governance review, a governance audit, whether it's a change management through leadership development. They don't have that standing, or they're not willing to put their neck out for it because it's so entrenched.
Yeah.
And the board and the leadership are so protective of their space and their culture and their behaviors. They don't want to be questioned, let alone corrected. So the next 5 weeks could be a very interesting internal dialogue with leaders, with staff leaders, as to what could 2024 include to maybe not start from scratch, maybe not go all in, but what could simply be introduced, whether it's onboarding, whether it's board scoring. How does the board evaluate their performance?
Yeah, indeed.
What's one thing you could add to your board landscape that could start this process? But this is your jam. What do our audience, what do our listeners do? We need some solutions here.
Well, I think you've given quite a lot of solutions, actually.
Oh, well, thank you.
Listen back through the pod. I think you've actually given quite a number of strong recommendations. I think I'm just reflecting as you're talking there, and I'm thinking, I know we're a bit early to talk about New Year's resolutions, but I'm not really happy being the bad guy anymore. I don't really want to go in to be the bad guy. I don't like to.
What?
No.
Wait, 2020, Andrew Chamberlain is not going to say COVID anymore, and he's not going to be the bad guy?
Yeah,
what?
Pretty much. Well, for this, quite frankly, for the sake of my own mental health, I think, apart from anything else, because actually I've been quite a few times in 23, I've been invited into the boardroom, and I know I've been invited in to be the bad guy, and it's really quite horrible. And being able to say that I have the luxury of not working in that environment is a nonsense, because actually at that moment I am in that environment. And this year I've had quite a number, well, not quite a number, I can think of 3 experiences in the last 12 months where I've been like, who the hell are these people talking to me like that for? And part of it is not just that I'm being the bad guy, but also and if you listen to the episode we did about, pulling back the curtain on consulting, a lot of it is around not just the disrespect and the blatant disrespect for the skills and expertise of staff. I'm also seeing the sort of lack of respect for what we do as professionals as well, in terms of the consultants and the specialists who underpin it. So I think, from my mind, I think no more being Mr. Bad Guy. I'm not doing it. I'm only going to go in on really positive pretense and do good stuff in 24 for people and help people who are also helping themselves.
Okay, well, I will continue to work with those who aren't yet fully aware of all that they're capable of, and you only work with the people who are already doing great things.
That isn't what I said. You're misinterpreting it completely. I think you're doing it on purpose.
Am I?
You are.
No, how dare you? How dare you?
I said that I wouldn't go in to be the bad guy anymore. That's completely.
Okay. Well, the bottom line is that this challenge has not solved itself, has not.
No.
I don't even know that the conversation has really evolved beyond bad behavior, micromanagement, lack of performance, lack of effectiveness, inability to put the members in the mission first.
Yeah.
We still seem to be chewing on all of this, and other experts in the field continue to talk about it. This is something I'm guessing we'll want to address again in 2024. And there's proactive ways to address it. And sadly, most organizations are addressing it in a reactive manner. So this was a pretty serious podcast for us. Let's keep our finger on the pulse here, because this is serious. It's important, and it's a seed that affects so much else that is grown and cultivated in the association space.
Hold on.
Oh, so this is good. You're okay coming back to this?
No, totally. I think there's miles to run in this. I think if we have the same conversation at the same time in 12 months, I'm going to be deeply disappointed, because we just need to see, progress around this.
Okay, so I have a new idea.
All right.
What if we invite 2 of our not favorite per se, but most successful board leaders, the volunteers. And we have a little panel discussion with the volunteer leaders, not to, celebrate them per se, but to ask them how they did it, what their organization provided, how were they set up to succeed. I just don't want to spend all 2024 talking. I want to start doing. And I think we need to bring in examples of success instead of commiserating about failures.
I love it. I love it. I also think maybe, and I'm going to put this, I'm recording this. Oh my God, I just realized I'm going to record and say this. I think we also you and I need to resurrect some of the work that we've been doing in the past around board leadership.
Oh, here we go. All right. This is on tape. I think we're at like 32 listeners now, and they've heard this. They know this is real. Your mom's listening too. She told me. So this is happening, my friend. Yeah. All right. So take these next few weeks. We're going to plan on some solutions for 2024. I want everyone listening to take stock of your board culture and leadership environment, and set a resolution for next year that allows you to make this better. Happy Thanksgiving, belated. I know you don't do Thanksgiving, but I appreciate you, and thanks for all you do. Thanks to everyone listening and everyone who's made Association Transformation one of their favorites. You can get us wherever you find your podcasts. And until next time, put your members and your mission first.